I'm Victoria, and this is what Victoria read. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is the 2nd of November and I'm off sick again. I've got another sickness bug, which is just delightful. I've been told by other teacher friends that it will happen quite a bit in the first year, but I feel rough and I've always felt guilty calling in sick, whichever job I was doing, because I hate putting pressure on other people. But the guilt when you call in sick as a teacher is just 100 times worse. So I feel physically horrible and emotionally rubbish today. But I didn't come on here to whinge. I finished 2 books yesterday which were technically carryovers from October, but I'm counting them for November. So the first one I've got it written on a post-it note because it was an audiobook, and that was Me, My Dad and the End of the Rainbow by Benjamin Dean. I listened to this on Scribed. I picked it up, I think it was Charlotte from Books and Bargains who was raving about it. It's been all over Booktube, but somebody told me that it was a real ray of sunshine book, so I picked it up last month and thoroughly enjoyed it. Gave it 5 stars. I think it's fab. It's about a boy called Archie whose parents split up, and then something falls out of his dad's pocket and that triggers a revelation and then an adventure, and that is all I'm going to say. You probably already know what it's about because it's like I said, it's been all over Booktube, but I don't want to be the one to spoil it for you. I thought it was fantastically done. There's a whole range of characters and different experiences in that book, and then, you know, all kinds of representation and loads of things going on, but at the heart of it is also just the most fantastic story about love and family and found family and being yourself. And yeah, I felt like cheering out loud reading it, so definite 5 stars. I'm also going to be recommending it to all of my kids at work, so really enjoyed that. And then I finished The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osmond. I bought this, I think, when I was with Charlotte in Oxford. Yeah, I did. I think it was one of my Blackwell's books. I picked it up because loads of people recommended it to me because I've got really into cozy mysteries recently. So I picked it up and thought I'd give it a go. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was a lot of fun. And it's about the Thursday Murder Club, who are a group of 4 older people in a retirement village, and they have this club where they meet up every week and they go over cold cases, and then someone is murdered in their retirement village and it goes from there. And I just thought this was wonderful. It was cozy, it was funny, but it was also emotional. It's quite dark in places. There are 2 discussions of suicide, so just be aware of that. So yeah, I thought it was a really good mix of like cozy and funny and cute, but also dark, and it's got quite a lot to say about what it's like to be an older person, and that feeling of being invisible. So I definitely want to read the next one, which I think is called The Man Who Died Twice. So I will definitely be picking that up at some point. But yeah, I thought this was really clever. I was a bit surprised because Richard Osman is a UK TV presenter, comedian, like TV host type person, so I'm always a little bit dubious, but this had real heart to it and real warmth, and I very much enjoyed it. It's the 4th of November, and last night I finished The Last Empress by Anne Chi Min. This was the first of the books that Gary picked for me from my TBR, and I will leave my TBR video linked in the description if you haven't seen that already. This is the second in a duology. The first one was called, what was the first one called? Empress Orchid, which I read earlier this year, and I've actually managed to complete a duology in the year, so, you know, gold star to me. This is historical fiction, and I picked up the first one because it was described as an own voices version of Memoirs of a Geisha. So Memoirs of a Geisha is a book that came out about 15 years ago now, I think. It was one of the first adult books I read and I loved it, but it is written by a white man, so that is problematic. So I picked up this one instead to kind of see if I could get an own voices perspective. I've given both books 3 stars. We follow Empress Orchid, who was the last empress of China, and we follow her in the first book from when she's a tiny girl, and then all the way through her life. And in this book we follow her all the way up to the end of her life, when she's in her 60s, I think, 60s or 70s. And it's a fascinating period of history because you go from what was a very kind of insular traditional China, and by the end of this book we're in the early 1900s. I think it's about 1908, 1907 when she dies, and we're starting to get the influence of the Western world coming into China and parts of it being annexed and all of that kind of stuff. So that was really interesting. I think the issue I have with these books is the writing style. It's very tell not show, and it feels very rushed. Like in a paragraph you can be moving forward like 8 years, and I just wanted to stop and get a bit more detail, and I didn't really feel that attached to the people. So I gave it 3 stars. I am glad I read it. I would recommend it if you want own voices, but the writing style just wasn't quite for me. It's the 7th of November, and this week, quite honestly, has been hard. And I thought about not mentioning it, but I always try and be kind of upfront and show you the reality of my life, and this week has just been pretty rubbish. I went to work on Monday, and then on Monday night and Tuesday and Wednesday I was really poorly, and I won't get into the details of it too much because I know there are some people that are phobic, but I had a sickness bug and it was grim. And I couldn't go back to work because of the 48-hour rule. I couldn't go back to work until Friday, and I know everyone's like, oh, you can't help it, and eventually you will cover your colleagues, blah, 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 which is true. But like the guilt and the anxiety that triggered has just really thrown me off. And work were absolutely fine with it and absolutely lovely about it, but I just found it really, really stressful. And it now also obviously means that my classes are a week behind where they need to be, and that freaks me out. So it's been a hard week. My anxiety's flared quite badly. And I felt like I was regaining my kind of equilibrium today, but then it's now Sunday night and I'm starting to get that like Sunday scaries feeling, which I haven't had in such a long time, and I'm just feeling a bit discombobulated, I suppose. There's also a really annoying glare on my glasses, but what we're gonna do. So yeah, it's been a rough week mentally. Physically I'm fine now. It was like a 48-hour passing through kind of bug. It's gone. And I know that, 2 minutes into my teaching tomorrow, I'll be absolutely fine. I felt really overwhelmed this week. I'm really stressed and worried, and my anxiety's been ridiculous. And thankfully, my lovely husband's been here to hold my hand and talk me through it. And obviously Charlotte as well. I've been chatting to her a lot via WhatsApp, and that's helped. But yeah, it's not been a great week. I have finished a book though since I last spoke to you, which was The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins. This is one of the books that Gary picked for me, and it's a thriller kind of, and it's a Jane Eyre retelling, and that's all I really knew about it. And obviously I've read quite a few different retellings recently. It's quite the trend these days, but I've never read a book that is so heavily based on the original text. If you've never read Jane Eyre, don't read this because it will be huge spoilers. If you have read Jane Eyre, then I would recommend this. It's quite fun. It wasn't like the greatest work of literature that I've ever read. It was fun, it was pacey. I gave it 3 stars. I knew where it was going because I know the original text so well. But I still enjoyed the ride. I couldn't give it any higher than that because Jane, they're literally, the names in this are the same. We have Jane who bumps into Eddie or Edward, and he's supposedly a widow. His wife's gone missing 6 months earlier. Jane is kind of looking for a way out of her life, and so she moves in with Eddie and they really quickly fall in love, but obviously there is something that's not quite right. And I think it was because Jane was so unlikable. I didn't really care, and I wasn't really that bothered if she succeeded or not, but it was really interesting, and you get multiple perspectives. There was a good twist, to be fair. I quite enjoyed the twist, but it's not that original, and it's not one I'll reread, we'll put it that way. So yeah, I gave that 3 stars. It was okay, and it was the nice easy read that I needed whilst my brain was playing tricks on me this week. It's the 12th of November and you can probably tell without me even saying anything that it's Friday evening. Teaching is not for the faint-hearted. It has been a week. It's been a better week than last week. My mental health is feeling much better now. I feel like I've kind of found my equilibrium again. But it's been a very long week. My voice is very sore, which is why I'm being super basic with my Christmas cup, because warm drinks are needed. And I also had my very first parents' evening this week, last night, as a teacher, which was really cool. It was a really long day, so I taught 8 lessons. I had an after-school detention to sort out, and then from 4 o'clock till 7, I was doing parents' evening, which was all online. And it was really lovely to meet some of the parents, even though it was over the internet, and be able to like tell them what we've been up to and talk about how the kids are doing. So it was lovely, but I left my house at 6:45 yesterday morning and I didn't get home until about 8 o'clock last night. So it was a long day in a very long week, and I'm feeling very tired. The reflection on my glasses, that's annoying, isn't it? Sorry about that. I've just got a few things to show you. I've been doing too much treat yourself, which might be why I'm feeling better, which would be not great. So yeah, I've got a few things to show you. First of all, because I know people will ask, I don't drink tea or coffee because caffeine is really bad for my anxiety, and I've not found any decaffeinated teas that I like. So I either go for hot chocolate, or this one is hot apple and cinnamon, which is just really yummy and autumnal, and it feels nice in my hands and it helps soothe my throat. I also drink a lot, obviously, of lemon and honey for the old throat. So I'm just going to go from the top of this pile of stuff. So if you saw Charlotte's October wrap up, I'll link it in the description. She read this book, she got an arc of this book, and she said that she thought I would like it. So I messaged her and I was like, I'll read it if you read a book that I liked. So we've agreed that I'm going to read this one in December and she's going to read The Pull of the Stars by Emma Donoghue, and we'll see how we go on. So this book arrived, and it is Every Day in December by Kitty Wilson, and I'm sure it would be nice for lots of people, but this doesn't feel like it's for me at all. But we'll give it a go and we'll see. And I think she recommended it because it's set between Bath and Bristol, which is where I live. And I think every chapter opens with a Shakespeare quote, which is also why she thought of me, which is nice. But it's kind of a, she loves Christmas, he hates Christmas. As midnight on the December 31st draws closer, Belle and Rory's time together is coming to an end. With a little hope from a Christmas miracle, could Belle find the one that she really wants underneath the mistletoe? Which, if you've been watching my videos for 5 seconds, you'll know is probably not quite my thing. But I'm going to give it a go. I think I'm going to read it in that week between Christmas and New Year, because that seems to be the time of year. So that's arrived. I then also, if you saw my October wrap-up, you will see that I went into Waterstones with Charlie during half term, and I filmed a clip of the really beautiful hardback version of The Appeal by Janice Hallett, and I didn't pick it up at the time because it's expensive, but I just couldn't stop thinking about it, and so I bought it. It's the Waterstones exclusive edition, and it's just so pretty, and it's one of my favourite books of the year, so that's how I'm justifying it, because I want it for my collection. But can we just enjoy, this is naked hardback, doesn't have a paper cover on it, but can we just enjoy how beautiful this is, and the spine and the back, and then the end pages. I mean, I'm never going to read this copy because I'll definitely wreck it, let's be real, but I'm so happy to have it for my collection. So yeah, that's going to go onto my hardback shelf. I needed it. Also, I still have my voucher from Grandma for my birthday, so that's what's all that. So thank you very much, Grandma. And then I've DNF'd The Missing Years by Lexi Elliott. This was one of my picks for Chloe's LDR-a-thon, for the gifted quote. That's not a word I need here. Prompt, because this was gifted to me by Chloe for my birthday. So thank you very much for sending it to me, Chloe. Unfortunately, I was bored senseless. I got 100 or so pages in and nothing was happening. And the text is really small, and I just got to a point where I didn't want to pick it back up. So I've decided to DNF that one. That just wasn't for me. And then today, I have done Treat Yourself to end all Treat Yourselves. As you've probably noticed, I'm not someone who pays that much attention to clothing. But I was walking past the shop the other day, or earlier this week, and I just saw this pair of shoes. And I've never paid this much for a pair of shoes, ever, including my wedding shoes. but I just saw them. And when I got my first teacher paycheck, I said to Gary, I'm going to save a chunk of it, 100 quid of it, and I'm going to buy myself something at some point as my like first teacher paycheck. And I haven't done it yet. So I've decided that this is my gift to myself. I won't show you both because you see both. But can we just, oh, that way around is better. Can we just, yeah. So I bought myself these, which I will now be living in until the summer. I can't wear them to work because of the colour. Look at that. But these are going to be my I'm not at work, I don't have to be a responsible teacher shoe. And yes, I'm very excited to own these. I'm well aware they're going to shred my feet while I break them in. I think that's all the bits for now. It's now the weekend. Gary and I are going to go into town tomorrow because we need to finish Charlie's birthday present shopping because his birthday's at the end of the month. So we're going to do that. More treating myself May and Shoe, can't lie. Also, my copy of Red, which was the Taylor Swift re-release, was supposed to be here when I got home and it isn't. And also a book that I've pre-ordered, but I can't remember what it is, was also supposed to be here today. I just had an email saying like, oh, your order's dispatched, but it didn't say what the book was, so I can't remember. So at some point I'll be back with those clips. But yeah, it is time now. I'm going to finish my lovely hot drink and try and soothe my poor throat. I'm going to have a face mask and a bath, and then I'm going to start my weekend with my lovely husband. It's the 20th of November and all of those clips you've just seen were filmed last weekend because I haven't even picked up my camera or my phone at all this week. It has just been really intense. It's the third week of term, so I had my usual freak out and panic because I feel like I'm failing at my job and I'm really behind and blah blah blah. Thankfully I have an amazing husband who held my hand through it, and I have a great manager and team at work who sorted me out. And yes, there is lots to do, but I am doing the best I can, so we're going to roll with it. This weekend is Charlie's birthday weekend. He's turning 12, which is just completely insane. And because he's 12, he didn't want a party, for which I was grateful because I am actually convinced that children's birthday parties are one of the circles of hell. But what he did want to do is take him and 5 of his mates to Laser Quest. He doesn't want us to play with them, so we are only there to ferry them, taxi them to the place, which is about an hour and a half from our house because of where he lives and where his friends live. Basically no eye contact, don't touch him in public, and then wait for them to play, provide snacks in the in-between time, and then ferry them back again. And then we're taking one of his best mates for dinner. So I'm going to be spending today basically in the car because of the amount of kids, we have to take both cars. So that's the day today. I've also got to drag Jack to the vets for his yearly injections, and I've got a set of marking that I have to get done this weekend. And tomorrow we've got the whole family coming around for roast chicken to celebrate Charlie's birthday, and he'll have his presents from us and birthday cake and all that stuff. So it's going to be really fun, but it's also going to be really intense because I feel like I'm being pulled in about 100 different directions at a time. But that is life. Yeah, so I haven't filmed all week, so that's good. I have finished 3 books though somehow, and I've got another book to show you that I mentioned in my last clip that hadn't arrived yet, and you've seen a little clip of it. But my pre-order for A Psalm of Storms and Silence by Roseanne A. Brown came in, and how beautiful is it? I read A Song of Race and Ruins at the start of this year, I think it was a January read, and it was a surprise 5-star. It was a 5-star or a very high 4. I was really surprised by how much I like it. And I say surprised, you can literally see like this entire room is just filled with Christmas and birthday presents. So apologies for this. I say surprised because I don't read fantasy, which is what this is. and I absolutely loved it. And I've seen mixed reviews from people since who do read lots of fantasy, and I don't know if it's because it's YA that kind of helped me get into it, but I loved it. And as before I'd even finished the first book, I'd pre-ordered the second, and I think it's a duology, so I think this is the last in the pair. And I'm just really excited about it, and just this cover is just completely beautiful. And originally I was like, I'm going to try and fit that onto my November TBR. It's not going to happen. My reading pace is super slow, and this is one of those books that I feel like will need some time and attention paid to it, so maybe in the Christmas holidays, although my December TBR is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, so we'll see. So there's that one. And then I finished 3 books this week. So the first book that I finished was Tender as the Flesh by Augustina Bastarrica. I picked this up for Chloe's LDR-a-thon, and also it's her book club pick for the month. This was a reread for me. If you've been here for more than 5 minutes, you probably already know this is one of my favourite books of last year. It's still one of my favourite books now of all time. I was nervous picking it back up because I thought, oh my goodness, I've like raved all over the place about this book. I recommended it to people. What if I reread it and I don't like it? But it was still a 5-star read for me. It is a short story. It's just over 200 pages about cannibalism. So we're in a world where animals can no longer be eaten because there's been some kind of plague, so they're poisonous, and so the government have legalised the consumption of what they call human meat. And we follow a man who works in an abattoir, and I absolutely love this. It's really visceral. I would not recommend it to everybody. If you can't handle quite a lot of gore, this is not for you. It's very detailed about the slaughtering process and about food preparation and all kinds of things like that, so just be aware. It does also talk about in here about death of a child, death of an infant, and miscarriage, so be aware of that as well. But it's also beautiful. It's about loss, it's about loneliness, it's about being isolated from the world, and it's yeah, I think it's beautifully written. It's visceral. I loved it. 5 stars. Then the next book that I finished was A Still Life by Josie George, which, as you can see, is a memoir. This was a book my brother gave me for my birthday, one of the books he gave me. Josie George lives with chronic illness, and this is a year in her life, and I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but I flew through this. If I hadn't had to go to work, I would probably have read it in 1 or 2 sittings. It's absolutely beautifully written. It's heartbreaking, made me cry a couple of times. It's really uplifting as well. Her writing is just absolutely stunning. She's really honest about what it's like to live with a chronic illness, what it's like to feel so unwell all the time but not have anything that the doctors can pinpoint. She talks a lot about obviously the frustration of that, but she also talks about the good things in her life and the beautiful things in her life, and she talks about her son, and she talks about her romantic relationships, and yeah, her writing is just stunning. So this was another 5-star. I couldn't give it any less than that, and I would definitely look for anything else that she writes because she's just absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. It did break my heart, and it did remind me of what the people in my life go through who live with chronic illness every day. And yeah, I would really highly recommend that one, and I would recommend that one to everybody. And then the last one that I finished was Love in Colour by Bolu Babalola, which was one of the picks that Gary chose for my TBR this month. I bought this when I was with Chloe when we met up in Bristol in September. I think it was September. And I bought this while we were together. Beautiful sprayed edges. I really enjoyed this. This was a short story collection. So the author has taken different myths and rewritten them and updated them for the modern day. And then there's also 3 stories at the back that are her original writing. And I thought this was really fun. It's all about the different types of love. It's quite sexy in places. It is fade to black, which I found a little bit frustrating at certain points. I was like, come on. She built the tension so well. And I was like, is that it? But actually I think I enjoyed the 3 stories of her original writing more than the retellings, and I will definitely pick up anything else that she writes. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was lovely, really well written. It's her debut collection, and yeah, I'm excited to read more from her. It's the 27th of November and I look like a thumb, but I don't care. As you can probably tell, I've just got out of the bath, which is why my hair's all wet, but I am wearing my pyjamas of dreams. These are from Next, and they've got brunch on them, brunch club on them, and they make me happy. They also make my husband roll his eyes, which is a bonus. As I always say in these clips, at the end of a very long, busy week, it's a delivery coming from downstairs. Yeah, very long, busy week. Better mentally. I feel like I'm kind of in the swing of it now. It's a really intense part of the term. I mean, I don't know when part of the term isn't intense, to be fair. But all of my kids did their midterms this week, and I worked late every single night and got all of those midterms marked and back to them, and they've done their feedback lesson. So I'm in quite a good position. I still haven't caught up on my bookmarking, but that is the project for next week, before we then do end of terms the following week. But yeah, it's been a busy old week again. We don't have Charlie this weekend, and I was going to film half my December content today, but we've got Storm Arwen currently visiting, and I'm not sure if you can hear it in this clip, but it is loud outside and I don't want to run the risk of filming 4 videos and none of them being usable. So I'm going to film tomorrow when hopefully the weather will be a bit calmer. So we're just having kind of a cozy, slow day today. It's nearly lunchtime. I've only just got dressed, well, into clean pyjamas. And it's been really nice. So yeah, I'm just gonna have a lazy day today. I have finished a book. I bought a book and I've had a book delivery. So the book that I finished was The Teacher by Katarina Diamond. This was one of Gary's picks for my TBR, and I got this when I was with Steph in Hey on Why over the summer. I really didn't like this. I've given it 2 stars. I think the only reason I finished it was such an easy read that it was all my brain could handle this week while I was working. I liked the setup and the first 50 pages, but then it just went downhill. Like, I don't think this is well written. I wouldn't recommend it. We start with a head teacher whose body is found hanging from the rafters of his very private boys' school, elite boys' school, and it kind of goes from there. And I need to give content warnings for suicide, for torture, for rape and sexual assault, for child abuse, for all kinds of things. I don't know if you can hear the wind now. So it's very dark and it's very gory and it's very graphic, which I'm fine with, and it's kind of a average police procedural. But I think what bothered me was like some of the messages in it. I really didn't like how the rape was dealt with. There were plot holes that a giant could stand up in, and yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I skim read the last 50 pages because I was like, no. So that was not the one for me. I did also buy myself a book this week, which I'm currently reading on audiobook, and I'm enjoying the audiobook so much I was like, I need a physical copy. So that book is European Travel for the Monstrous Gentlewoman by Theodora Goss. I read the first in this trilogy, which is The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, earlier in the year, because Leanne would not shut up talking about it. So I read it, I was like, fine, I will read it, picked it up, gave it 5 stars, didn't I? That was kind of annoying. It wasn't, because it was a 5-star read, but it's like, she was right, damn it. And this is the second one, and can we talk about how massive this thing is? It is 700 pages, I think, or near enough. Hang on, I've got notes and stuff at the back. Yeah, 706 pages. The audiobook is 28 hours long. I wouldn't usually pick up audiobooks any longer than about 10 hours because I could listen to about 10 hours of audio in a week as I'm driving to and from school. So I saw it on Scribd and I was like, should I? And then I thought, well, actually, kind of, this is sort of like historical fiction or alternative historical fiction, which is perfect for me for this time of year. So I was like, I'll give it a try. I'm absolutely obsessed with the audiobook, really, really enjoying it. And so I thought, well, I'm going to need a physical copy for my shelves. So I bought this beast, and I don't think you'll see a wrap-up clip from me on that book this week because we've only got till Tuesday, till the end of the month, and I've got about 5 hours left. So I think that'll be one of the first reads that I complete in December. But yeah, I just wanted to show you, and also how stunning is this cover. Like, they're so beautiful, and I'm told the third one is not as long as this. The first one wasn't as big as this, and yeah, I'll give my thoughts in a wrap-up clip later once I finished it. And then I also had a bookish delivery. Let's do this without showing my address. Which I'm not going to open until the start of December. So on Twitter and Instagram every year I run a bookish Secret Santa. Set it all up last week, and this has arrived, and I don't know, I obviously know who my Secret Santas are because I set the group up. I used a random number generator just to pair everybody up. So I know who my Secret Santas are, but I don't know if that's from Twitter or from Instagram. What I do know is it's blooming heavy, so I don't know what they've sent me. Feels maybe like a hardback, possibly, which is exciting, but I'm going to leave that until next week because I want it to be kind of, well, it's supposed to be a Christmas present, so I feel like I should open that in December. But yeah, for now I'm going to go get comfy on the sofa. I'm going to make myself some Pop-Tarts for breakfast because my child isn't here and I don't have to set a good example, and I am going to recharge the old batteries. And it's the 3rd of December and I'm coming in finally to wrap up the wrap up. So I've got 2 other books to talk about that I finished in November, and then I need to do the stats. I'm also well aware that this lighting is terrible. It's about 6 o'clock on Friday night. I also know that I look rough. I have been teaching all week. It's Friday. So I've got no voice. I look exhausted. I've taken my glasses off because the glare on them is so annoying when the light's like this. So I can't really see you, and I'm hoping that I'm in focus. So we're going to do this fairly quickly. So the last 2 books that I finished were All Our Hidden Gifts by Caroline O'Donoghue, which was one of Gary's picks. Yeah, the last 2 were his picks. I really enjoyed this. I don't know why I was hesitant. I think I was maybe expecting something like more difficult to read or like more literary fiction to read, but this was really fun. It kind of reminded me of Holly Bourne a little bit, the way the friendships are written, and we're following a young girl called Maeve who finds a deck of tarot cards in her school when she's clearing out a closet one day, and she starts giving readings, and then her ex-best friend disappears after a reading that Maeve's given her, and it kind of goes from there. I don't want to talk too much about it because of spoilers, but I thought this was so fun. We've got loads of different rep in it. I've already pre-ordered the sequel, which doesn't come out until next year, and I hardly ever do that. And yeah, it was interesting. Sorry, things are falling over. It was interesting, it was creepy, it was well paced. Really enjoyed it, gave it 4 stars. And then the last book of the month was Objects of Desire by Claire Sistanovich, which I was sent by Book Break in exchange for an honest review. This is a collection of short stories, and it says inside, it says, announcing an extraordinary literary voice, these 11 stories lay bare the beauties and ironies of contemporary life. This is the debut of sly and disarming power. And actually, I enjoyed this a lot more than I was expecting. I gave it 4 stars. Obviously, with short story collections, there were some I enjoyed more than others, and it is very literary fiction. I just think I was just looking at myself in the camera and I feel like I look really weird without my glasses on. Let's put them back on. Also, my head's starting to hurt. We're just gonna have to deal with the glare. Yeah, that's really quite bad, isn't it? Anyway, nobody cares what I look like. I'm just talking about books. So yes, I really enjoyed this. I will definitely look for more from her. There were definitely some that I enjoyed a lot more than others, but my star rating kind of averaged out at around about 4, so that's what I've given it. And yeah, it was a good little read, nice short read. I've really got into short stories this year. And then let's do stats. So let's finish this wrap up. So in November, I read 10 books, which was fab, given that it was a full teaching month. Pages read was 3,330, which is 111 per day, which is up, I think, slightly, yeah, on the previous couple of months. My average star rating was 3.9, so it's pretty good. My favourite book of the month was definitely A Still Life by Josie George. Absolutely stunningly beautiful. Would just highly recommend it to everybody. There's just something, you know, it's ever since I finished reading it, I'm still thinking about it, and I've already recommended it to a few people in my real life, so really love that one. So Ben, if you're watching, thank you for giving me this for my birthday. It was a really good pick, and yes, definitely one I'm going to come back to. And my most disappointing read was this, which again, the more I think about it, the more I just really didn't like it. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. And then my TBR currently stands at 60 books, and the month before it was 66 books, so it is going down. I did have a few books obviously come in during November, but a few books went out as well. So that is the wrap up for November from this very tired, very pale face with a terrible lighting. Thank you so much if you have got to this point in the video. If you made it here, leave me the autumn leaves emoji. I feel like that's quite November-y. just so I know that you got to the end. Please subscribe if you would like more of this chaos and terrible lighting, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks everyone. Bye.